Welcome, everyone. This is a true story posted on Reddit that went viral. To protect privacy, the names have been changed. Richard was the CEO of a major company who went undercover at a retail store to uncover issues after seeing toxic behavior from managers Ben and Amber. He meets employee Maria, whose selflessness impresses him. How will Maria react when she learns Richard's real identity? What consequences will managers Ben and Amber face when the CEO exposes their entitlement? Stay tuned to find out what happened when this top executive confronted his company's broken culture firsthand. In this dramatic Reddit confession you won't want to miss. Richard straightened his cheap tie in the mirror and took a deep breath. Arriving at the local store, Richard introduced himself to the manager and donned an employee vest. He was assigned to work the floor with Maria, an exemplary saleswoman whose work ethic and charm were known across stores. Richard admired how deftly Maria conversed with customers and gave advice. At noon, Richard headed to the break room for lunch. There he met Ben and Amber, two floor supervisors. Right away, their rude remarks and arrogant attitudes rubbed Richard the wrong way. Amber scoffed when Richard asked a question about scanner inventory procedures. Ben cut him off mid-sentence to complain loudly on the phone to corporate about incompetent new hires. Trying not to react, Richard bit his tongue. He knew Ben and Amber were the store's high performers, often getting privileges and awards for their sales numbers. But seeing their entitled, condescending manner was eye-opening. The next few weeks were more of the same. Ben and Amber maintained ruthless attitudes, while Maria's thoughtful approach impressed Richard more each day. One afternoon, Richard was struggling to reach a high shelf to restock some merchandise. "Don't strain yourself," Ben snorted with laughter. Amber snickered too, walking past and refusing to help despite Richard's polite request. Finally, Maria noticed and rushed over. "Here, let me help you with that," she offered with characteristic kindness. Richard thanked her profusely after she fetched a stepladder. "I'm sorry about Ben and Amber," she said. "They should know better, being supervisors." Richard just gave a small shrug, not wanting to arouse suspicion, but inside anger toward them simmered. On slower nights doing inventory, Richard and Maria often chatted over snacks from the vending machine. Bit by bit, Richard learned more about Maria's life. She was a single mother working overtime nearly every week to pay for treatments to manage her young son's serious medical condition. His heart broke thinking of all she endured. Maria remained so selflessly devoted to helping customers despite her own hardships. One night, Richard was working late with Maria to set a new merchandise display. As they brainstormed ideas together, she shared more of her struggles. Tears glistened in her eyes as Maria opened up about battling poverty and how badly she wished she could afford better care for her chronically ill son. Richard listened empathetically. Inside, his blood boiled, thinking of spoiled executives like Ben and Amber who took their status for granted. After hearing Maria's story, Richard knew what he had to do. The next day, the moment all the employees left, Richard used the store's intercom system to request Ben and Amber meet him in the manager's office immediately. When Ben and Amber arrived, they looked annoyed to have been kept late. "This better be important," Amber huffed. Richard stared them down sternly. "It is important," he said. "I'm Richard Walsh, the CEO." Ben and Amber's mouths dropped open in shock. Richard described being appalled at their callous attitudes and preferential treatment while hard-working employees like Maria went unrecognized. "You're both fired, effective immediately," Richard stated. Begging and apologies ensued, but Richard would not be moved. They had abused their power, and it was time for consequences. The next morning, Richard called Maria into his office. Maria saw a man in an impeccably tailored suit. "Richard?" Maria thought to herself. No, it couldn't be the shy new guy who could barely lift a case of cans, could it? Richard took a deep breath and revealed the truth. He was actually Richard Walsh, CEO of the company. He had been working undercover to better understand the issues facing retail stores. Maria's jaw dropped open in disbelief. The friendly new guy she had been mentoring was the billionaire founder of the corporation. Richard apologized for the secrecy. It was the only way to truly see what was broken in the company's culture. He explained. After seeing the burdens Maria and other associates faced, and the callousness of management like Ben and Amber, he knew dramatic changes were needed. In fact, I fired Ben and Amber earlier today, Richard informed Maria. Their arrogance and mistreatment ends now. I'm removing all executives who value profit over people. Still reeling, Maria struggled to find words. Richard continued, I want you to take over as store manager, Maria. Your dedication and care for customers is exactly what we need to move forward. He continued, Maria, your strength and character are incredible. You represent what my company values most, he shared. I'd like you to manage this location and oversee additional stores opening soon. Maria was overwhelmed with gratitude. Then Richard presented one more surprise. He would be establishing a fund through the company to cover her son's medical treatments in full. Tears streamed down Maria's face as she hugged Richard tightly. Thank you, she whispered. For me, this isn't just a job. You've given my son his future. Richard knew promoting compassion over status was the key to lasting success. He vowed to build a people-first culture of dignity and humanity, and Maria would help lead the way. Richard shows business leaders can confront injustice and nurture people-first cultures. The right values must start from the top. Thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments what kind of stories you want to hear more of. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true stories and life lessons. Your support helps us continue creating content that inspires.